Hello there, Mandy here. Restorative Grief with Mandy Capehart is not just a podcast. It's also a book, a free online grief group, and a one-on-one private coaching practice. If you are interested in learning more, visit mandykapehart.com to find out how restorative grief can help you heal heart, mind, body, and spirit. Welcome back to Restorative Grief with Mandy Capehart. You are listening to episode 254, titled High Functioning Grief, The Life of Saying, I'm Fine. What if I'm fine is doing more harm in your life than you realize? There's a way this phrase can quietly carry us through grief, stress, and relationship, while also pulling us a step away from what's actually happening inside us. Beneath it, self-abandonment can start to look like stability, and we stop noticing the cost. So today we're going to look at what it means to come back into contact with your inner experience and begin telling the truth in ways that feel possible to let you live. There are conversations that don't usually happen out loud, but they are happening all the time beneath the surface of a life. The moment someone answers, "Oh, I'm fine," when they're not. The moment a body tightens before it speaks the truth. The moment grief gets edited into something more socially acceptable. The moment someone decides it's easier to stay composed than just be real. Many people listening are already nodding along, knowing that internal negotiation quite well. Not as a theory, but as a lived experience. Behind it is an embodied way of staying safe, staying needed, staying unburdened, or staying unseen. It works until it starts to cost more than it protects. And what follows is not an argument for becoming more self-aware. It is an invitation to notice what is already known internally and to stop overriding it so quickly. Anne Lamott, in her book Almost Everything, says, quote, "To pay close attention to and mostly accept your life, inside and out and around your body, is to be halfway home. The lesson here is that there is no fix. There is, however, forgiveness. To forgive yourselves and others constantly is necessary. Not only is everyone screwed up, but everyone screws up. How can we know all this, yet somehow experience joy? Because that's how we are designed, for awareness and curiosity. We are hardwired with curiosity inside us because life knew that this would keep us going, even in bad sailing." What Anne is naming here is not a philosophy to adopt, but a way of remembering what is already true when we are not performing our way out of it. And from that place, the invitation is simple and direct. To notice where we are still saying, "I'm fine," when something inside us already knows we're not, as a pattern that deserves our care and acknowledgement rather than another line item to check or problem to resolve. Because for many of us, "I'm fine" is not a statement of truth, but a practiced reflex. It's a way of staying inside the roles that once made sense for us, but no longer fit, of keeping connection without risking honesty that might compromise that connection. It's a way of managing what feels so complex, so tender, and far too unresolved to directly name. And so this is where our self-awareness becomes less about insight and more about disruption, right? This is one of those reasons I really enjoy in using the Enneagram with people to begin seeing their own patterning more clearly, not to label it, but to recognize how we move away from ourselves in somewhat predictable ways when we are trying to remain safe or steady or loved. And those of you who know my work already know how much I appreciate it as a complex, non-prescriptive tool for understanding those instinctual patterns and staying how connected we are, even when it's painful to stay connected because it feels safer. But whether or not that framework resonates with you, the deep work remains the same. Learning to notice where honesty is being replaced by performance and what it costs to keep doing that. The habit we have of saying "I'm fine" often has less to do with truth and more to do with efficiency. It keeps things moving and it keeps relationships unburdened. But it also creates distance from the self and leaves our pain private so that we are left to manage it on our own if we can touch it at all. And while it's not a dramatic distance, it is a subtle one where we can still function, show up, and even feel helpful while leaving our own internal experiences unattended. Coming back to yourself is not about becoming different. It's about stopping the ongoing translation away from what's actually happening inside you. The I'm fine response comes from the learned place that it was safer to not take up space, to get small. It is protective, intelligent, and deeply practiced. It's not a terrible strategy, but it becomes isolating over time because it's not how you were meant to exist in this world. And it's certainly not the way you were meant to live life in relationship, because it's replacing accurate expression with a false sense of security. Again, Anne Lamott names the ongoing reality clearly. There is no final state where life becomes resolved and no longer requires attention. There is forgiveness repeated, awareness repeated. There is the return to what is here repeated, not as effort toward perfection, but as participation in just being human. That framing for trauma-informed listening helps because it removes the pressure to arrive anywhere other than where someone actually is. Nothing about this requires our performance, emotional intensity, super spiritual language, insight that comes on demand. It just requires a willingness to stop overriding what we already know internally. And the shift begins before we can name it. We might notice that we start pausing before saying we're fine. Maybe we take a bit of deeper breath or offer ourselves a moment of noticing what is true instead, even if we can't say it yet. Eventually, it will lead into a longer pause where we decide if we are going to let it be true, whether we are fine or not, or if we are going to be honest. And over time, this becomes less like a practice and more like a form of integrity. Not the kind of integrity that looks composed on the outside and keeps others trusting us, but the kind that makes it possible to stay connected to ourselves from the inside out, that helps us learn to trust ourselves. And in relationships, something begins to change when our honesty replaces a performance. At first, it will feel unfamiliar. There will be moments where others do not immediately know how to respond to the truth that you serve that is no longer softened into manageability. But over time, those relationships begin to reorganize around what is real instead of what is safe. Some connections deepen because there's finally room for truth to exist without being corrected or minimized. Some relationships, and this is true in my case, reveal their limits, especially where emotional honesty was only ever welcomed in small and controlled doses. Some dynamics simply stop requiring so much internal labor to maintain. What becomes clear is honesty does not destroy connection. It clarifies it. It shows where there was mutual presence all along and where there was only mutual performance. Coming back to yourself is not a single decision. It is a practice of no longer abandoning what is true in order to stay acceptable, useful, or easy to hold. Over time, that practice changes not only how someone lives inside their own experience, but how they are able to stay in relationship while still belonging to themselves. Thank you for listening to episode 254 of Restorative Grief. We all fall into the I'm fine trap. No one is immune to it. It, in fact, has become such an automatic response for some of us that we lose sight of what is actually true for us in the moment. And so if you take anything from this, let it be to be here, to really listen, and to not feel like you have to fix everything for yourself. Or anyone else for that matter. Ask the questions that matter. Give people space to just figure things out in their time and stay curious a little bit longer. That's where real connection happens. And this practice does not just support the people around you. Of course, it changes how you stay in a relationship with yourself as well. If this is your first time listening to Restorative Grief, I'm so glad you found your way here. Thank you to the patrons of the show who support the restorative grief community by keeping these episodes alive. Check the show notes if you're interested in becoming a patron for as little as $2 a month. Please be sure to subscribe and, of course, leave a 5-star review as well so others can find this work and get the support they need in their own grief exploration. And as always, before we go, one last thing. Please remember, the only solution for grief is to do the work of grieving. Thank you for listening. I'll see you next week.